Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. This is Through Darkness into Light, and I'm Maya. And I just wanted to welcome you to Startup 2.0. I posted my first real video about a year ago and felt like it went so well, and I was really proud of myself. And then my ego monster reared its ugly head, and I gave that ego monster a lot of cookies, and I was not sure that I was meant to do this and not sure that I was meant to share something that could actually help people. And I really started, being super self-critical and not seeing what my true purpose was in this life. So I had a lot of healing and growing to do, and now I'm back here because I feel like I'm ready to try this again. So it actually goes into really great what we're going to be talking about today. So I, to start out with, just want you to know that I am so grateful that you're here, and I hope that my message finds whoever it is meant to find and help who it's meant to help. I have to say this because it's YouTube, but I'm not a licensed psychologist and I am not a doctor. So that being said, only uh, if you feel like you need to, seek professional help, please do so. The messages that I receive are based off of my own intuition and guidance from what I call higher power, which is God, source, the universe, goddess, whatever you resonate, but I believe in God. Um, my spirit guides, my ancestors, my guardian angels that are around me all the time, and the knowledge that I have gained from years spent studying esoterics, tarot, Reiki, and no teacher like that of personal experience, right? So, if you didn't know, I've spent 15 years in healthcare, and I witnessed firsthand how horrible uh, and dark sickness and grief and pain and death can bring to people's lives. And also, I have experienced a lot of those same things in my own personal life as well. So, that being said, I really thought hard about what I wanted this channel to be and what I wanted to do with it. And I wrote down a few things about what I was hoping to gain by putting myself back out there and doing this. But ultimately, I want this to feel like a safe space, one that feels like coming home and sitting down and having a conversation with an old friend. That I want to invite the spirit of love, sorry, unconditional love. Yeah, unconditional love, compassion, empathy, and healing, and to offer a light into dark times without judgment or criticism to anyone's experiences or journeys, because everyone is on their own unique path. But in doing that, to be able to achieve that, I realized that I was going to have to embrace something that has actually been really hard for me. Um, Something that I have shied away from, especially a lot in the last year, surprisingly enough, and that is to be vulnerable. Uh, my favorite author, motivational speaker, Brene Brown, says vulnerability is not about winning or losing. It's about having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. Vulnerability is not weakness, it is the greatest measure of our courage. So, I'm taking a page out of that book and I am opening up to be vulnerable. And I'm hoping that this will offer a safe place for those of you who need that as well, to know that you can be vulnerable and to know that that is not weakness. It is the bravest thing that you can do. So I just wanted to, reference that. I feel like, especially lately, I've been receiving a lot of, you know, intuition and downloads from just the struggle that people are going through right now. We are all experiencing hardships, and we all feel it at times that we have gotten the short end of the stick. We've all struggled and gone through times of feeling disconnected, alone, and unworthy of love and belonging. And we're all wearing this mask, trying so desperately to fit in somewhere, to fit in anywhere. And my hope and my wish and my goal is to normalize that individuality, because everyone's on your own unique path, own unique journey. And we came into this life not knowing where we were supposed to go or where life would take us. We just followed this core programming that we received and hoped that it was right. And I don't know about you, but I didn't get an instruction manual when I was born about where I was supposed to go or what I was supposed to do. Now, if you are one of those ones that apparently maybe did, could you please see me after class? Because I'd really like to know where to get it and how I can bribe you with maybe some cookies to give me that information. Anyway, my goal is to take the stigma out of the black and white thinking, to challenge it, to offer a different perspective on the why did this job, relationship, conversation, anything that applies, insert here, happen or not happen. I want to go further and I want to dig deeper. And I want us to ask this one very important, pivotal question. This experience that happened or is happening right now, what is the lesson that I'm meant to be learning? And for some of you, it's going to be really easy to do. And for some of you, it's not going to be so easy. But I want you to know, no matter where you're at on your journey, that the answers lie within you. They lie within your soul. And all you have to do is take a step back and change your perspective on how you're looking at things. It's not going to happen overnight. But I have found in my own life, in my own personal experience, that if we take it that step back and take out the how or the why, it will lead to the what. So today I wanted to talk about something that I've struggled with, especially in the last year, but my whole life, if I'm being honest. And that is perfection, which is usually inclusive to people pleasing, right? When I sat down and was really making some notes and asking for some guidance on how I could give this message, it was, it kind of came out as this idea that, we're all born into and still are a part of a society that programs us to think and believe and even judge ourselves and others based on what we perceive success is. How much you make every year, what kind of car you drive, the trips that you go on, how many hours you put in at work, how much was accomplished on your to-do list, how many home-cooked meals did you make, and how many meals do you have in the freezer for later? Did your lawn get mowed? Did your bathrooms get cleaned? Did you hit the gym enough? While none of these are bad things, and neither is achievement or success, it is if we are doing it from a place of what Brene Brown calls hustling, which, if you don't know what hustling is, I will tell you the quote that she wrote about hustling for our worth. So she says, when we let go of what other people think and own our own stories, we gain access to our worthiness. The worthiness is that feeling that we are enough just as we are, and that we are worthy of love and belonging. When we spend a lifetime trying to distance ourselves from the parts of our lives that don't fit with who we think we're supposed to be, we stand outside of our story and hustle for our worthiness by constantly performing, perfecting, pleasing, and proving. Our sense of worthiness, that critically important piece of us that gives us access to love and belonging, it lives inside our story. So that is something that I have realized that I have done a lot to try to hustle for my worth. And she talks about in another quote that perfectionism is a 20-ton shield that we lug around. So it kind of pushed me into actually, because I'm not only spiritual, but I have all this medical background, to try to understand the root and the reason, the cause of why we struggle with perfectionism. And in my studies and reflection about my own self, I came up with this definition of perfectionism. It is a deep-seated belief that self-worth is conditional on flawless performance. It's a survival strategy and a coping mechanism to feel safe, to feel in control, and worthy of love. But, and there's always a but, right? It traps us in a cycle of anxiety, self-criticism, a fear of failure. And it fosters this I'm not good enough mentality, which actually prevents us from healing. Perfectionism is a common result of childhood trauma, which from early experiences that include but are not limited to criticism, neglect, and unpredictable environments. These experiences profoundly influence our perception of self. And it was crazy to me because, again, I'm all about the physiological why, right? Like what happened, why, what happened, how can we fix it? What do we need to do things different? But trauma, from early childhood trauma, actually reshapes the brain function and alters the emotional responses, which in essence basically allows the perfectionism in us to the drive, like access to the driver's seat in our life. And it also heightens the amygdala, which amplifies fear and stress. It, at the same time, weakens our prefrontal cortex, which makes control feel vital. And it emerges as this 20-ton shield that Brene Brown talks about, that it shields us against failure to avoid mistakes and equates errors as weakness and worthlessness. And the need to control, that need for control, it counters the trauma and adds chaos and fuels this relentless self-pressure. So I really took a seat back in, sorry, I really can't talk. I really took a back seat and really started looking at where perfectionism has shown up in my own life and how that has affected me and how it made me see myself and the lies that I told myself, this self-criticism that pops up in an effort to try to control something that we can't control. So in doing that, I realized that perfectionism, it ties yourself to, like, this worth to flawlessness. And the first thing we have to do is recognize that, right? We have to recognize that the first step is to recognize that we are not only worthy when we are perfect. That if we can recognize that, it steps us into this place that we can start dismantling this hold that perfectionism and people pleasing have a hold of us, and gives us the ability to, like, swirly start working on self-acceptance over the control. So perfectionism and people pleasing, it breeds this negative self-talk. It causes stress and anxiety. It causes burnout, and it literally traps you in the self-worth idea, which is not reality, right? It's a trap. So I thought, okay, so we know what it is, and we know what we're doing and how we're showing up in perfectionism. So what do we do, like, when we're presented with this idea and we know we're struggling, right? We know we are struggling with this perfectionism and this idea of, our worth being tied to what we can do, or what we are supposed to be doing. And usually it comes down to two things. Are we going to avoid, or are we going to accept? So avoidance, I can tell you right now from personal experience, is not the answer. It will only worsen your anxiety. Instead, choosing mindfulness, choosing that acceptance of self, and realizing that if you are mindful of your choices and mindful of the route you're choosing to take, and if you're in this place where you're like, I'm struggling and I'm feeling these perfectionist tendencies taking over my life, find some mindfulness practices that really work for you. Meditation, breathing exercises, positive affirmations are one that's really, really great, to remind yourself that you are worthy of love no matter where you're at in your life. So the other thing is, do we overwork ourselves, or do we seek self-compassion? So overworking, and usually I feel like avoidance and overworking come hand in hand, lead to that it just it destroys your self-esteem. So instead, to practice self-compassion, which is kindness of yourself over criticism. And actually doing that on a regular basis can actually help heal wounds from trauma. So self-criticism versus control, right? Self-criticism, it just continues to hurt you. And I want you to change the narrative about how you would speak to a friend. So instead of showing up criticizing yourself, how would you speak to your best friend, or your child, or your mother, or anybody that came to you seeking guidance? How would you talk to them? Which then ultimately leads to the acceptance. And this is something that I have found a lot in my own life, which is that acceptance of I can only control what I can control, right? Take a step back. I actually say the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So that is something that I still say to this day, over and over, when I feel like I cannot change, or things, or the outcome isn't the way that I wanted, or I lean into these perfectionism tendencies. So these things are all things that are going to take time, right? But making a plan to show up for yourself is something that will do you wonders. To sit down, write it down, figure out where you are struggling and how you're showing up, and how you went, like what places or spaces or in situations that you're allowing this perfectionism to drive you. So this is the other thing that I wanted to talk about. I know firsthand about perfectionism and people pleasing and how toxic it can become to your life. And I just want you to know that all of you out there, the perfectionists, the people pleasers, the not good enoughers, and the I'm so burnt out that I'm going to give up. I see you, all of you. And I see the heavy load and the weight of trying to fit into a box that someone else built for and put you in. And I see that 20-ton shield that you're holding and the mask that you're wearing trying to fit in. And I'm telling you now to please, please, please put down the shield and take off the mask. Back away and see what is revealed to you. You'll be so surprised and shocked at the relief that you will find when you take back your power. When you take back your power, it looks like not caring what everyone else might think about you, what other people might say about you. And if you're willing to live in authenticity, to show up for yourself in ways that you know deep down in your heart and your soul are what you are meant to do, then do it. Be honest about your truth. Being honest about your truth, it does not have to be creating conflict, yelling, fighting your point. It's just that point of you say thank you for your opinion. You don't have to say anything else. You do not have to validate yourself to other people. No one else is living your life or feeling what you feel and knowing what you know to be true. Do not allow people who do not understand you to sway you from your truth just to make them happy. You know, you're living your life and the one dealing with the consequences, good or bad, right? And long after these people who try to sway you or offer their opinion, they go back to their own lives. And I'm not saying asking for advice is bad, because it's not. It is good. It is absolutely wonderful to have a support system, to have people that you know and trust. But you have to find your small inner circle. But even better, follow your own intuition, your own voice, your own gut feeling, your own path. And if you don't know where to go or are struggling to gain answers where you're supposed to go, then that is when you need to take a second and say a prayer. Ask for signs from God and the other side. Be specific, be direct, and know when it is time that the answers will come. You just have to keep reminding yourself that perfection is not attainable. It is not possible, no matter how hard you try. So I'm asking you to stop trying to achieve perfection, because it will only continue to create chaos, confusion, anxiety, and burnout. Instead, take a step back and take some deep breaths and remind yourself perfection is not attainable. As long as I am trying my hardest and doing my best, it is good enough. Sorry, my kitty's right here. Hi, kitty. So in closing, I wanted to foster some love who you are messages. So to leave you with, to go on your merry way with, to hopefully help you find some acceptance and self-love. So there's this love who you are oracle deck that I have gotten just recently, and it's by Angie Solins, and it's actually just beautiful. The pictures, the artwork is amazing. And I loved, it says right on the front little thing here, when I opened up for my storage box, it has a quote, and it says, though I do not yet know all of what I shall become, today I am a person proudly failing at who they wanted me to be. So I thought that was very perfect for today. So I drew 2 cards. The first one is 37, Become an Alchemist. And it has a beautiful picture of these 2 koi fish. So it says, pain is not negotiable. It happens in life. Suffering, for the most part, is optional. When you express your pain, channeling it to some form of creativity or expression, it actually becomes art. When you repress your pain, it becomes stuck, unable to transform into something useful. And so it melts into suffering. Let pain have its space, and then give it a voice. Let it howl freely on the canvas of your life. You are the alchemist of this moment. And then the other one is number 2. with a beautiful picture of a purple dragonfly, which purple is my favorite color, and it says, "Trust your wings." Do you remember who you were before the world told you who you should be? Endeavor to remember, for that person has all the natural resources to be the master of their own power and the sovereign of their own life. You were taught to trust others in authority, facts, science, opinions of loved ones or admired ones. But often that leads to confusion or discomfort, for only you know what is best for you. Listen to good counsel, but dismiss whatever does not resonate within your soul. Now is the moment to trust the wings of your inner guidance. They will carry you far beyond all wild imaginings. So, this is my message for today, and I hope it brought you some light to your day. I hope it helped find peace on this part of your difficult journey. And I want you to remember that you have the power to take back control over the doubts and self-limiting beliefs. I personally like to imagine them as I take them and put them all into a metal garbage can, and I pour some gas over that, and I set it all on fire and watch it all burn away. It's very cathartic. In ending, I want you to know that you are beautiful, you are or handsome, whichever resonates. You are smart, you are strong, you're brave, and you can do hard things. You are worthy of love and belonging. And I hope you have a great remainder of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.